Law, a series of podcasts focused on insights and learning pertaining to the implementation and use of AI in legal practice, with hosts Ian Hull and Susanna Popovic-Montag from Hull Hull LLP, brought to you by confidentiality.ai.
Hi, and welcome to episode 3 of A Better Place to Be, AI in the Law. I'm your co-host, Ian Hull, coming from downtown Toronto, Canada, and I'm joined by my partner, Susanna Popovic-Montag of Hull Hull LLP. Welcome, Susanna.
Thank you very much, Ian, and welcome everyone to our podcast.
So we're at the third podcast. I've been tracking the numbers. They've been going well. We're not quite at Joe Rogan level, but it's coming along, and really enjoying it too. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to just start with what is, and partially sparked by a couple of things. One is that I got my master's shirt on because the masters are done. What a great masters. Oh my God. But anyway, we'll come back to that another day. The thing that motivated me today to bring in our discussion points is two things. One is we had covered some of the tools and the sort of the steps that we're taking for change management at Hull Hull LLP with the great help from confidentiality.ai's team. But my favorite podcast in the universe, of course, continues to be AI and the Future of Law. And one of the things that Jan and Leonard and Bridget McCormick talked about in the March 10th episode, highly recommend all of them, but that one was really cool. They talked about AI recording tools. And so I wanted to start today talking about recording, because as lawyers, obviously, recording the moments of advice giving and events is foundational to our practice. You and I have been doing this. I've been doing this for 35 years. You 25, 26, or 27, whatever, much younger than me. We've spent most of our career writing like mad or typing like mad when we get into a meeting or we get into a court hearing, taking notes throughout. That's changed overnight with AI. And I want to talk a little bit about what tools we're using and how that's impacting the practice. And as I say, the March 10th edition of AI and the Future of Law really dove into this on the system and client privilege side. I want to talk a little bit more about it on the client service side and getting rid of that mundane task of note-taking and allowing us as lawyers to really focus in on our clients at the moments of taking instructions or giving advice. So that's where we're going to start. And then we're going to work through some of the other tools that we use because we promised that we would talk about them to see if it was any help to others. So let's talk about the note-taking tools. Susanna, what did we do and what kind of experience have we had over the last 2 years as we morphed a little bit away from the pen?
As you know, as lawyers, note-taking is really, really important, and being able to, get as much information as possible, as accurately as possible, really is the key. And so we started last year with a program called Otter AI. And that program basically was a transcription of our conversations with our clients, and so much more. So it would take our discussions, it would summarize them, it would suggest next steps, it would help us turn those discussions into even reporting letters to clients or to-do lists. It was a very powerful tool that we really got a lot of usage from, and we're able to adopt it and incorporate it into our other existing systems. So we could take those recordings, put them into our DMS system, bring them into our co-counsel queries and searches into the Copilot as well. Then, just like with all technology.
Before we go to where we went, just want to go through that a little bit deeper. So that's the tool we were using. We were using it on Zoom. We were using it on phone calls. We changed our retainer agreement to identify that it is being used. We alerted clients of it being used. Obviously, anytime it came on, it alerts you anyway. But it was a complete shift in terms of record keeping. And it's a shift in terms of how you practice law. And I want to talk about that after. But let's keep staying on the tool. So you told me about what we were doing with Otter. and you said there was a change, and then we're going to talk about how it affected our practice.
Sure. And then we, thanks to Council AI's good advice, found what seems to be an even more powerful note-taking tool, and that is Fellow AI, which is what we are currently working with. Does a lot of the similar things that we just talked about in terms of being able to transcribe, being able to summarize, being able to turn things into reporting letters, checklists, next steps, discussions, but on a more powerful level. And it's still relatively new days for us here at Hull Hull LLP, so we're still learning its capabilities, but certainly seeing, the fact that we can pull in our calendars into the program, being able to decide which conversations, which meetings are going to be transcribed and which ones are not. So many things that we're still learning with this great program.
Okay, and the interesting thing, one of the little twists that we found with Fellow AI was because it's saved in Canada. That was another issue. We always struggle with where is the data being saved, and when it's being saved in the U.S., some law societies have some issues to at least alert us to about what that means or doesn't mean. Nobody's coming down pronouncing against it yet, but Fellow was just also really helpful because it was saving in Canada. Okay, so before we talk about some of the other programs we're using, Susanna, tell me a little bit about what it's like to practice law pre and post Zoom, and then pre and post Fellow AI, in the sense of how are we behaving with our clients, and does it change things? Not just access, obviously Zoom gave us access to them anywhere in the world, but how are we practicing law differently, or how are you practicing law differently?
I think there's a greater level of an opportunity to connect with clients if we're doing it remotely by Zoom, knowing that, we don't have to be furiously writing our notes down. We know that Zoom's got capabilities of recording and transcribing as well. Like almost every platform does that. I think we're seeing a real shift on being able to provide that more connection point with our clients, even though we're not necessarily in the same rooms. If we're making that eye contact, we're not, constantly taking notes. It's a very different kind of environment than what it was even pre-pandemic when, we were in meetings and those notes, they were only yours. No one could read them. No one could transcribe them. No one could understand them but yourself. And, I still use the crux of note taking. I actually use a program called Notability because I run my practice basically off my iPad. And with all the travel that I do, I like the fact that I can basically have my whole computer on my iPad, my whole system, and still in those days, in those moments when I need the comfort of a pen and paper, I can make notes right on my computer and incorporate them into our systems as well. So I just find that it's a different way of practicing than it used to be even like 2, 3, 5 years ago.
Yeah, and I love that engagement piece, as well as I think is that we have to also be more careful as lawyers. You're being recorded, and you can't hide behind a scribble note that you say you said it and you didn't say it, and maybe you did or didn't. So the scrutiny is going to be there, all right? And in terms of, obviously, we take will instructions and instructions for litigation, and there is no gray area as to the nature of the advice you've given. So
So
we
true.
have to be, it makes us better lawyers, quite frankly, in my view. So it's nice to have better engagement, but also nice to be better lawyers.
Hmm.
Uh, okay, so there's no gaps in the collection of the event now, both typically on Zoom if you're doing it, but if it's an in-person meeting through the Otter AI tools, there's no gaps in that regard. One of the other areas where we found, I would call a gap is maybe too negative, an inability to find information. And what I mean by that is this, that we've created, and since you started with me, so that's probably at least 25 years, we developed, with your leadership, a knowledge management system. Forget this whole idea of where your precedents. An effective knowledge management system that you'd started creating 25 years ago, and we've been building it for that number of years. And that knowledge management system was a substantive knowledge management system typically, but then we branched it into things like good local referrals. Who do we really like to use in Sudbury? Who does a great lawyer in Fort Lauderdale? Those kinds of things. So we have its own referral sub within that. We have other practice management within that. We have our access to our benefits plan in there now. The idea was come from you was with all this information, what are we going to do with it, and how can we get to access to it, and what are we using AI to enhance that for? So maybe Susanna, you can talk a little bit about what you've done to develop our, which is no longer just knowledge management system.
Yeah, I mean, we really needed to find a way to collect all of these different pieces of information on different platforms. And, so we had information that was going to be in our knowledge management system. We had things that were in our DMS system. We had things that were in different, folders on different platforms and what have you. And with the benefit of AI and some really smart people internally, we were able to create what we call the Hull and Hull library, which is really just a collection of everything we have. And the amazing thing about it is not only that it's in one place, but that it's like keyword searchable. So if you're looking for, as you alluded to, my benefits plan and, what is my dental limit, you key in a couple of keywords and you'll get access to the booklet that will set out that information. Same with all of the substantive stuff that we're looking for. There's, we've got Westlaw, we've got, the old days we had Quick Law, we've got our precedents, we've got, previous files that we've worked on. Being able to collect that information, by keystrokes and getting it all at your fingertips was really something that was important to me, because it's great to have all these wonderful resources, but if no one knows where they are and can't access them, it's really not that helpful. So this way, we're really excited about this newest development and hope that it'll even get better as AI gets more and more powerful.
Yeah, and it's not magic. We've had to retain Council AI and their council and their engineer, their AI engineer, to bring together this tool. But obviously, probably in 6 months is even going to be easier to create. Claude has changed the world in that regard. But the idea of having an available plain English keyword searching, and keyword searching is old school. Prompting to with complete simplicity. So we created the knowledge management system, then we built on it and we layered on it. It's got substantive and it's got everything there. The other part of this is, again, to implement it. And Council AI came in on a Monday session and gave us a lesson on it, gave us some illustrations of that. And then their representative came around to the firm and poked us and made sure we knew what we were doing. It was fun, that one, because that one was actually a quick learn to do it. But I found I underestimated the power of what was in it, because we have this deep history of the substantive stuff, plus the day-to-day stuff right through Monday.com. Everything's literally circled around in it. If I want to find out, geez, what's the date of death of a certain file, I was finding that in knowledge management in our Hull and Hull library. So the power of that was really helpful to us as well. And most of us have these tools already. We have a precedent database. We have some sort of manual or we all have policy guidelines we have to create as a consequence of our regulators. All of that stuff gets included into this. And it's driven largely because of our enhanced onboarding tools as well that we have. And we'll talk a little bit about our onboarding tools in one of our podcasts, because we have driven a lot of that with AI assistance. So onboarding will be its own podcast, so to speak. But let's just make sure we finish off our tools. Those have sort of taken us through what we're doing on a day-to-day basis, right? We're waking up, we're putting in our passwords for co-counsel, co-pilot's operational, double authenticated. We're day-to-day dealing with Solonos. Now, maybe you could talk a little bit of that program, because that is a sort of in-your-face program that we're running every day.
And that really is our docketing program. And of course, running all of our books and our financial components through it. It is it's web-based. Again, we've made sure that it's secure, that it's safe. It's the best that we could come up with. There are certainly other products out there. We used to use PC Law in the old days, but now we've moved on to Soluno, and it just gives certainly us as lawyers the ability to docket anywhere. You don't have to go onto your system. You can just access it through the web, and it really nicely does work well with this mobile world that we live in. And it's always great that we can stay on top of things. We don't have to wait to post things. We can post them right away. They're in the system. Pre-bills can be run. Statements can be generated. It really is. It's improved certainly our financial side of things at the firm.
Can you tell us then, just in terms of, you talk about obviously mobility is so crucial, and we have we try to encourage 4 days a week in terms of coming into the office, but we have lots of opportunities just because of work commitments and stuff to be off site. What are we doing as a firm, Susanna? Maybe you could describe that just in terms of access to our cloud-based system. What tools, what hardware we're using, and what sort of protections have we implemented on a day-to-day basis? So we're, just so people know, we've got about 25 lawyers. We're not, a giant firm that's using Harvey and using mega systems. We are sort of a more a boutique, but more of a classic environment. Anywhere from 2 lawyers to 60 lawyers kind of works with most of our systems. What are we doing that's general high level? What are we doing with that piece of our day-to-day technology?
Well, very high level. We used to work on the Horizon platform and on the other like platforms where you would access Splashtop or what have you, your server, and you would be able to dial in and work from that way. What we've done in terms of an improvement is we've gone on to and purchased laptops for every lawyer so that they are, when they access their laptops, they're going directly into our system. They don't have to go through and rely on, access to Splashtop or access to Horizon. They're going directly into our system, which we hope and understand is a lot safer, a lot more secure. When people do work remotely, they don't have to go through, public means by which they can access the computer system. And really, the biggest concern is just to make sure that we're protecting our client data to every extent possible.
Great. Well, that was a big shift in terms of our processes, and it's sped things up, and it's also added a huge layer of protection for us. So we're much happier and much safer that way. All right. Well, look, I think we've kind of covered in the last 2 podcasts a little bit about what we're doing. Again, we're sharing our experience. Nothing's perfect. We're changing it and revisiting it every day. We're looking at ways to tweak it. We're also looking at ways to completely implement new programs. For our will drafting, we use eState Planner, which is an online tool. It's a paid closed circuit system tool for drafting. We use On Wills to make sure that any of the wills that we're producing are uploaded into an Ontario registry, so our clients can know that they can always search properly. Someone can always search properly for your wills. I always say, I never had a client say, "Thanks for doing that will, but make sure no one finds it." So On Wills has been another program that we've been using on a third-party source. And as I say, eState Planner is drawing our wills through. It's a lawyer-based drafting tool that we use. Those are some of the programs we're kind of using on a pretty regular basis, and so we'll obviously jump in and out of discussions on them as we go along in our podcast. But we thought we'd like to sort of open up with that. And again, I can't thank the people around me, that my friends and colleagues and podcast sources and literature sources that have taught us to look for the next best thing without jumping to it. And I think our experience with the note-taking was exactly that. And we refined our choice. No criticism of Otter. It's an amazing tool. This one worked a little, Fellow.ai worked a little better for us. but we were open to engaging with these providers to figure out the best way to do things. Another little twist we've done is Custodius is a firm that in Canada takes your wills, physically holds onto your wills. They've got a fireproof, safe facility, online access to tracking. We use a company called State Search for air searching. So we're starting to create a sort of a cadre of third-party providers out there to support our day-to-day use. And we're going to spend some time talking about those third-party providers in the future and interview some of them because of the innovation that they're bringing to it, but they also the phenomenal aspects of AI that are getting integrated into it. So very exciting about that. And this has been a great opportunity, Susanna, to talk to you again in our third podcast. We look forward to coming back for more, and I appreciate it. Good to see you.
Thank you very much, Ian, and thanks to all of our listeners. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
You have been listening to A Better Place to Be, AI and the Law, with hosts Ian Hull and Susanna Popovic-Montag from Hull and Hull LLP, brought to you by Counsel.ai. If you have any questions or comments, please email our office at info@cnsl.ai. Thank you.